The all-seeing golden eyes of the great sage, once capable of discerning all things, now sat in a low-tier shop, completely ignored. Everyone else thought they were just an ordinary pair of eyes, but I spent every last point I had to buy them. The manager standing nearby panicked when he saw what I did. You have to understand, getting points this early on is incredibly difficult. But what they didn't know is that in my past life, I had already reached the pinnacle of this world. I surpassed all the gods and became the master of the tower. But in the very next moment, the great tower that supported the world suddenly began to crumble. Outer gods from another dimension swarmed in like demons, relentlessly consuming our world. Even the great sage, with his indestructible body, had his right arm severed by one of the outer gods. To achieve victory in the war, Kronos, the god of time, sacrificed his own life to reverse time itself. The price, however, was his own existence. But it was the only way to turn the tide and defeat the outer gods. The gods decided that I, the one who could adapt the fastest, would be reborn with all of their memories. I returned to the day before the tower appeared. However, the first thing I did when I went back was bring a case of restricted blades to the middle of the city and open it. I took out the sharpest dagger from inside. Everyone thought I was insane, but I just watched them with a cold gaze. In a moment, you'll all be losing your minds too. As the clock struck midnight, time seemed to freeze. In the next second, space itself began to tremble. A heavy, tangible pressure swept across the entire globe, and a voice echoed in everyone's mind. Survive the zombie horde. After 30 minutes, the zombies will automatically disappear. Faced with a million zombies descending upon the city center, I tossed away my weapon. Because I knew that even with the sharpest weapon, it would be impossible to pierce the zombies' defenses. You'd only die a horrible death due to your own ignorance. So, I took out a container of mysterious liquid and poured it over my sharp dagger. When I reappeared, the zombies that were once impervious to any blade were as fragile as paper before my dagger. This mysterious liquid was a secret I had accidentally learned in my past life. I, who was lucky enough to survive, learned from an old man that the zombies' fatal weakness is salt. With my salt-enchanted blade, I achieved an incredible feat, killing 100 zombies in just 10 minutes. For that, I earned 3 free attribute points, which could be used to upgrade any stat. But I knew that using these free attribute points right now would be a complete waste. After that, only 10 minutes remained in the tutorial stage. Just then, a commotion in the distance caught my attention. I saw a group of zombies surrounding 3 people. So, I went up to a rooftop and poured all the salt from my backpack down onto them. The zombies it touched started to sizzle, and in moments, they melted from the salt and collapsed to the ground. And with that, I reached 1,427 kills, earning the same amount in points and bonus stats. At the same time, because I ranked first in the number of zombies killed and had achieved such an incredible record, I received an extra 1,500 points. I looked at my status screen, level 16, and a 4-digit point total. It felt a bit ridiculous, to be honest. But before I had time to think about it, the second tutorial round was about to begin. A voice appeared in everyone's mind once again. Congratulations on surviving. It seems quite a few of you made it in this district. I have something to announce to all you survivors. Originally, this was supposed to be announced after the second tutorial. But I'm making an exception this time because someone has very quickly reached a certain threshold. I only have one thing to tell you, and that is how to use your points. There are 2 main ways to use them. One is to make purchases in the shop. And trust me, the things in there are beyond your wildest imagination. The other way is to use them as currency. Everyone likes money, right? Anyone can trade points through a handshake, as long as they have enough. You could even become a god. But the moment the method for using points was revealed, every tutorial match from now on would become a battle for levels and points. Before anyone could even catch their breath, the next tutorial match was already underway. And the new mission's content would be even more brutal. A safe zone will be generated in the center of each region. For every 3 hours spent in the safe zone, you'll earn 100 points. But the safe zone can only hold half of the surviving population. When the capacity was reached, the ground suddenly began to shake violently. Countless giant earthworms burrowed out from underground, devouring anyone who couldn't get inside. Even with the danger outside, I had no intention of staying in the safe zone. Because I'm the only one who knows that slaughtering all the giant worms in the area will bring me countless rich rewards. I just killed 1 giant worm. And I got 300 points and 2 random attribute points. But the earthworm monsters burst out of the ground, so I can't see their locations at all. That means I have to close my eyes and rely on my other senses. As the ground suddenly trembled, I slammed my foot down hard, hitting a giant worm just as it broke through the soil. Then, I swung my blade again, and killed another one. Not only did this raise my level, but it also gave me 3 attribute points. Looks like if I really go all out, I should be able to earn a lot of stat points. Earthworm monsters usually build their own tunnels underground to claim territory. The subway station is the perfect place to hunt them. Looking at the dense mass of writhing worms ahead, a system notification appeared. Hidden dungeon discovered. You have discovered the Hanjik University station entrance. 100 points acquired. Now that I've found their nest, hunting them will be easy. I'll set a small goal for myself. Reach level 20. I held my sword with both hands in an offensive stance. The next second, the glint of my blade flashed before the worm monsters. The earthworm monsters were instantly sliced into countless pieces. Suddenly, a crystal clear bead fell before my eyes. I never expected to get this bead so early. Only I know the future value of this bead. In my eyes, this swarm of worm monsters suddenly seemed a lot cuter. My eyes filled with a crazed look. Now I'm even more motivated. I slaughtered them for a full 3 hours. I continuously swung the longsword in my hands, not resting for a single moment. I wiped out all the worm monsters in the subway station, and my backpack was filled to the brim with the beads they dropped. By this point, my level had reached 20. The new magic attribute has been unlocked. I opened my interface and took all the free attribute points I had earned and put them all into magic. I'm the only one who knows that the magic attribute is the foundation for acquiring other powers in the future. Right now, nothing is more important. Suddenly, I turned around, my eyes locked on a spot on the ceiling. You're watching me, aren't you? After a brief silence, that cold voice actually came from the ceiling. How did you know? I shrugged, stating the obvious. Because I stand out. Look how boring everyone else is. Suddenly, a cute little clown emerged from the ceiling. And he is the administrator's messenger. Wow, you're really level 20 already. But I just explained that I was lucky. Then, I said that I wanted to open the shop to buy a skill. The next second, the shop interface appeared before my eyes. I kept scrolling down, and finally stopped on a skill called Monkey's Eye. Right after I clicked purchase, the messenger reminded me, this skill is just so-so. Why don't you pick another one? But I told him I wanted it because its name was cool. After that, I also chose a basic sword magic, using up almost all of my points. Not bad taste. Basic sword magic can make up for the weak attack power of beginner participants. Well, I'll be going then. Have fun. I'll be looking forward to your performance. After saying that, the messenger vanished. The moment he was gone, I instantly became alert. Did it mean it's going to classify me as a special management target for surveillance? It doesn't matter. I've gotten this far fair and square. Even if they watch me, they won't find anything on me. The only thing that makes me a little nervous is return. But can they even detect that? It's a piece of equipment made by Cronus, Mimir, and Odin. The central figure among them, Cronus, no longer exists due to the clockwork's punishment. Forget a messenger, even the administrators wouldn't be able to find any trace of return. Besides, even if someone did notice something, my goal wouldn't change. Thinking this, I activated Monkey Eyes. My pupils turned gold. When in use, my field of vision becomes much wider, and the sensitivity of my 5 senses is also enhanced. I plan to increase its proficiency as quickly as possible, because the true value of these eyes has yet to be unleashed. Before long, I found another nest of earthworm fiends, and the boss of the second tutorial round, the earthworm mother, was right there among them. At this point, there were 30 minutes left. I took out my basic sword magic, intending to end this fight with this weapon. I stomped on an earthworm fiend, crushing it. Then, right in front of the earthworm mother, I slaughtered several more. I was just trying to provoke it, because the earthworm mother has deep affection for its children, but it's not very bright. The moment it charged at me in a frenzy, its massive body crushed who knows how many of its own children. As for me, I leapt high into the air, dodging the mother's attack. In midair, I adjusted my posture, gripping my blade and gathering my strength. Using the momentum of my descent, I dealt a heavy blow to the earthworm mother's head. Immediately after, I moved around on the earthworm mother's body, my hands constantly swinging the sharp blade. Green blood splattered everywhere. The earthworm mother struggled, trying to roll over. But I seized the opportunity and attacked its soft underbelly again. However, I didn't expect the mother's life force to be so tenacious. Even covered in wounds, it didn't stop struggling. I leapt high off its body, and the mother followed right behind, its gaping maw wide open. It was about to swallow me whole, but I wasn't the least bit flustered. In an instant, my figure shot out like a bolt of lightning, slicing the mother's body in two. This left the messenger very surprised. You actually killed it? Do you need me to heal you? I replied that if this was supposed to be a reward, then I refuse. As long as my stamina recovers, these minor scratches will heal up quickly. How could an ordinary human accomplish all this after just 2 tutorial rounds? This is simply astonishing. At this, he couldn't help but applaud me. But I just said, deadpan, you're as noisy as ever today. At the same time, I thought to myself, I got rid of the earthworm mother 30 minutes ago. The messenger showed up later than I expected. The earthworm mother maintained the ecosystem of the second tutorial round, and yet I defeated it. For the messenger who manages the tutorial round, this was definitely something unexpected. The reward for clearing the stage is never specified beforehand, so they must be discussing what to give me. Thinking of this, I asked him, what about my reward for the special operation? You actually know to ask for reward for the special operation. It seems you've already grasped the rules of this world. Just pick one of these three. The first is direct access to the 5th tutorial stage. And you'll also be given the information and clear rewards for the 3rd and 4th tutorial stages. The second is points. The last is a connection to Olympus. You might not know this, but the tutorial stages are just the beginning of this world. The vast tower is home to many beings with godlike power. I suggest you go to Olympus. Olympus is one of the ruling factions in the tower. If you can get their support, then once you've passed the tutorial stages, you'll still be safe and sound inside the tower. I really hadn't expected a reward like this. Olympus is indeed a powerful faction that rules the tower. Cronus himself was once one of its high rankers. If I have them as my backers, maybe I can enter the tower safely and quickly. But I'll choose the second one. Congratulations, you have received 10,000 points. My choice made the messenger anxious. Wait a minute, you haven't used the points yet, so I can give you a chance to choose again. You need to choose carefully. You're only choosing this because you don't understand Olympus yet. You'll regret it later. At this point, I finally figured it out. This messenger had probably been bought off by Olympus. But the tutorial stages must be kept separate from the tower. Cheating by recruiting talent ahead of time isn't allowed. So, I waved my hand and summoned the panel. I chose to spend 1,000 points for a chance to meet with the administrator alone. Seeing this, the messenger started to panic. Who are you? How do you know about the administrator? Just then, a purple portal materialized out of thin air. A man with ragged clothes and a scruffy beard walked out and stood before me. He was the low-level administrator for this tutorial stage. I began to speak. Rule number 1 of the tutorial stage. Participants may only rely on their own abilities to obtain all relevant information. They may not request the intervention of administrators or gods. And yet, we have interference from the tower here. The messenger just offered support from Olympus as my reward. By now, the messenger was already trembling in fear. He opened his mouth, wanting to explain something. After confirming the truth of the matter, he threw a punch. He completely obliterated the messenger. Those bastards from Olympus dared to stretch their hands into my territory. The administrator said, shaking his hand. Thanks to you, I was able to get rid of this black sheep. At this, I spoke up. I spent the required points to summon you, and I helped you find a messenger engaged in improper conduct. How are you going to reward me? The administrator sized me up with great interest. A mere participant caused a messenger, who was practically a high ranker, to die in the 2nd tutorial stage. You've accomplished something so amazing. What kind of reward should I give you? As he spoke, the administrator plopped right down on the ground and began to seriously consider my reward. After a moment, the administrator extended his hand toward me and said, you deserve a generous reward like this. And this is the only way to exchange points within the tower. Just as I thought I was about to get another massive amount of points, the turbulent magic power swirling around him made my eyes go wide. Seeing my shocked expression, the administrator chuckled. Are you satisfied with a reward like this? Well then, I still have my subordinates to deal with. I'll be going now. I look forward to seeing you after the 3rd tutorial match. However, even long after the administrator left, I still couldn't recover from the shock. Why would such a high-level skill appear in a tutorial match? And the one I obtained was the S-rank skill, Magic Dominator. Not only does it greatly increase magical defense, recovery, and sensitivity, it also grants the ability to dominate Magica Euro, one of the omnipotent powers exclusive to administrators. And the most insane part about this skill is its ability to use mana to dominate and construct any magic within the tower. Most importantly, it accelerated my progress in recovering and inheriting the abilities I had before my regression. This completely immersed me in the joy of regaining my power. But then, with a flash of clarity in my eyes, I realized this was far from enough. To destroy that seemingly omnipotent outer god, I needed more leverage. As the tutorial match was about to end, I returned to the surface. The people in the safe zone were stunned. Is he crazy? How dare he wander outside the safe zone? As they murmured, the ground beneath my feet suddenly split open. An earth ant worm burst out of the ground and lunged at me. But I simply lifted my foot, and the next moment, the worm's head was stomped into a pulp. This scene left everyone dumbfounded. At the same time, the 2nd tutorial match ended. The 3rd tutorial match officially began. And the theme for this round was, The Hunt. Please hunt the monsters in the area and obtain 50 essence cores. The time limit is 72 hours. If the time limit is exceeded, this area will be destroyed. After 70 hours, the portal will be activated. Seeing this, I absorbed all the beads in my bag, raising my mana to 30. Next, I started charging a magic wave. Although in the 2nd tutorial match I happened to obtain some essence cores, I wasn't satisfied with just that small amount. Once the magic wave was fully charged, I hurled it into the horde of monsters. It instantly wiped out a whole group of them. Although it takes all my mana to cast a single magic wave, it worked. And right now, it's still hard to control. But once my mana and skill proficiency increase, this skill should become truly useful. My sheer power sent the remaining monsters trembling in fear. What's wrong? What are you afraid of? Let's go again. With that, I drew my short sword. I had no intention of wasting the remaining time. On the second day of the third tutorial match, a few people arrived at the subway station where I was. Lim Chuyian immediately spotted the convenience store nearby. So, they all rushed towards the convenience store, ready to have a feast. Suddenly, a giant spider monster appeared above Han Junho's head. The next second, it bit his head clean off. By the time they snapped out of their terror, a huge wave of mutants was charging at them. The two of them quickly drew their weapons, but because their levels were too low. Lim Chuyian was bitten on the arm by a mutant rat, and Kong Seong-chan was tackled by a zombie. However, their loud commotion woke me up. I casually tossed a can, killing the mutant rat on Lim Chuyian's arm. Then, as the girl watched in astonishment, I flicked a few more cans. Soon, I had killed all the mutants. Even that terrifying giant spider was finished off with a single slash of my blade. I had actually bought some odorless powder so I could sleep in peace. This powder eliminates nearby scents, protecting the user from monsters with a keen sense of smell. I never expected to be woken up by something else. After giving them a glance, I turned and left the area. I drew my knife and asked the two of them, but you knew it was dangerous here. Why did you still come down? Lim Chuyian explained. Right now, people on the surface are forming factions. They're suspicious of each other and are killing one another. People are on a killing spree just to get spirit cores. It's absolute chaos up there now. Looks like you two were attacked and fled here. Because those guys won't follow you down here. But then again, weren't you about to die here anyway? Besides, how do you know I won't just kill you and take your spirit cores? Although the two of them were scared, they also figured I had no reason to kill them. Someone as powerful as you must have already collected enough spirit cores. And what if I feel like collecting a few more? Even if I don't kill you, you'll die here anyway. I'm sure you know why. What do you want us to do? I gave a slight smile. I have a pretty good proposal. If you do well, I'll even give you some spirit cores. Alright then, let's get moving. Soon after, Kong Sung-chan's miserable screams could be heard. Turns out his job was to help lure the monsters. As the monsters were lured over one by one, I leapt into midair. In an instant, sword energy swept through like a hurricane, instantly killing every monster there. Fist-sized gold cores rained down. After hunting for only 2 hours, I had already obtained 50 crystal cores. It was then that Kong Sung-chan truly realized that the man before him simply wasn't on the same level as them. Kong Sung-chan asked cautiously, "Excuse me, what level are you?" But the answer he got sent a cold chill down his spine. I can't level up anymore right now. I'll probably have to wait until the next tutorial round to level up normally. Also, your level is private information. Don't go around asking about it. Don't tell anyone yours, either. Same goes for your attribute points. Just then, however, Lim Chuyian came running over, leading hundreds of monsters. Seeing this, I gripped my sword and charged forward. What happened next was, of course, a one-sided slaughter. I gathered the remaining crystal cores that Kong Sung-chan and Lim Chuyian needed to clear the round. The two of them once again thanked me from the bottom of their hearts. I shook my head and said that I should be the one thanking them. Thanks to you, my hunting speed increased by 50%. The number of crystal cores I obtained was countless. At this point, in the second tutorial, there were only 3 hours left until the round ended, and only 1 hour until the portal opened. Since that's all taken care of, let's head on up. It's probably still a total mess up there, right? Oh, it's definitely that and then some. After all, the third tutorial round is about to end. I'm so worried about the people outside. Look over there, the entrance is slowly turning red. It's probably because the gate at the entrance is about to open. At that moment, the teleportation portal on the surface turned crimson. Down at the entrance, the humans were separated by a yellow line into 2 factions. However, most people had fewer than 50 crystal cores. The two sides eyed each other warily. The moment the entrance opened, a bloodbath would likely be unavoidable. But just as a massive brawl was about to erupt between them, Kong Sung-chan and Lim Chuyian walked through the agitated crowd, with me following behind them holding a cardboard box. I then placed the box on the ground and emptied all the crystal cores from my bag into it. The sight left everyone completely dumbfounded. How in the world did that guy collect so many? No, don't back down. Just think of how many of our guys are standing right behind me. No matter how tough that guy is, there's no way he can beat all of us on his own. Seeing him about to step closer, I told him to watch his feet. I then picked up a crystal core and said, "You all need this, don't you?" "I don't need them anymore. These are all spares." The moment they heard this, everyone raised their hands, wanting one. But I told the crowd, there's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. 1 crystal core for 100 points. As soon as he said this, he was met with dissatisfaction from the crowd. They all thought 100 points was too expensive. However, Blondie got a crooked idea. He pointed his dagger at me and said arrogantly, "A trade? You selfish bastard. If you just gave them out to everyone, hundreds of us could have survived." How ridiculous. What can you do if you don't have the money? Hearing this, I let out a cold laugh. That's a really strange question you're asking. I'm not forcing anyone to buy or sell. If you want to buy, you buy. Just no credit. If you don't have enough points, you can go borrow some. You can also sell your own equipment and skills to get points, then come buy from me. Blondie had originally intended to use morality to corner me, but seeing that his trick wasn't working, he dropped the act. You bastard. You just killed people and stole all this stuff anyway, and now you have the nerve to sell it for points? You think anyone's gonna buy that act? If we kill you, all the crystal cores will be ours. Get him. At his command, the crowd raised their weapons and charged at me. The moment they crossed the line I had drawn, I swung my blade fiercely. In an instant, I killed the two men running at the front. This scared the people charging from behind so much they slammed on the brakes. Only in that moment did Blondie realize what I meant earlier when I said not to cross the line. And I continued speaking. The terms are the same. Cash on delivery. Once you've paid, you can enter the line. Whether you buy or not is your choice. I won't force any of you. But if anyone crosses this line with other intentions, then they're a dead man. After speaking, I activated my skill, Basic Sword Magic. However, the crowd still didn't back down and soon launched another attack. Seeing this, I stopped holding back. In a flash, every person who charged at me was cut down. Seeing this scene, Blondie trembled all over. Was I the one who forgot the rules of this world? I have to escape. Only the people who cross that line will die. I won't die. I can get out of here alive. Just as Blondie turned to leave, I appeared behind him. Did you really think you'd be safe just by staying back there? I've memorized all of your faces. So don't even think about running. With that, I beheaded him in one slash. After dealing with Blondie's team, I picked up the box and walked over to the teleportation gate. This scene made the other team tremble in fear. He had taken down an entire group with his own overwhelming power. A scene straight out of a movie was happening for real in this world. And here I was, thinking I was adapting well to this place. Turns out that was just my own delusion. In the end, he could only obediently spend his points to buy a crystal core. With their leader taking the first step, the others who needed cores could only follow suit and make the trade. After selling all the cores, my point total reached 160,000. I originally thought I'd be lucky to get 100,000 points. But with this amount, I should have no problem buying that thing. Seeing that I had sold all the crystal cores, the two people who were with me at the subway station came forward to ask, "Do you want to travel together? You can keep using us like last time. You can just throw us away when we're no longer useful." I was a bit stunned when I heard that. Then, I smiled and shook my head. Unfortunately, this is where we part ways. Don't rely on others. You won't get far otherwise. And besides, I'm not leaving. This surprised the two of them. Why wasn't I leaving? I shook my empty backpack. Because right now, I don't have a single crystal core. This was unexpected for them, but I had my own plans. I urged the two of them to leave quickly, predicting that this place was about to turn into a hellish battlefield. And so, the three of us parted ways here to prepare for the coming battle. I planned to buy some equipment in advance, so I summoned the shop. But the next second, a terrifying pressure appeared in the street. What I didn't expect was that the one who appeared before me wasn't a messenger, but the administrator. I was a bit taken aback. But the administrator flew into a rage at the sight of me. "Isn't this all your fault? Because over 100 people requested to use the shop to trade with you. It delayed the progress of other matters. On top of that, 1/3 of the messengers have ties to Olympus. After a major staff reduction, the administrators have no choice but to show up personally. However, the more important reason is that you've become a special management target and are now under surveillance." As the administrator raised his hand, the shop panel opened in front of me. First, I spent 10,000 points to buy in ultimate bound backpack that activates equipment by command. Then, I started picking out weapons. You have obtained the Ice Jade Iron Sword. You have obtained the Flame Curse Robe. With my current level of equipment, I could probably even reach the upper floors of the tower. Finally, I spent 2,000 points to buy a basic weapon, a refined sword. The administrator said, "No one can touch you now. Because the participants in the tutorial match can't even damage that robe. I'm leaving. I look forward to your performance." The fiery golden eyes, once used by the great sage, Heaven's equal, were now sitting in a low-tier market, completely ignored. Everyone thought they were just an ordinary pair of eyes. But I bought them without hesitation, only because Sun Wukong himself once told me that under certain conditions, these monkey eyes could be upgraded into his fiery golden eyes, as long as after failing the first tutorial match, they were tempered in battle against a demon possessing the Annihilation Flame. As the countdown shattered, tutorial match clearance failed. The area will now begin to perish. As the voice faded, the entire sky was stained a deep, blood red, and the surrounding air grew scorching hot. But one of the passive effects of my Flame Curse robe is increased fire resistance. As for the others who failed to clear the tutorial, they were instantly devoured by the flames in the searing environment. At the same time, the system's cold notification rang out. The 176th Giant of Annihilation has begun to emerge. In that instant, the entire world was consumed by fire, as countless decrepit, flaming skeletons clawed their way out of the ground. There were a lot of them, but none were the real boss. And the very reason this event is called annihilation appeared after a blazing pillar of fire shot up into the sky. The low-level demon, Surtur, has appeared. In my past life, we were mortal enemies. And in this life, we still can't stand the sight of each other. Surtur was the first to attack. Thousands of decrepit skeletons slowly pressed forward. I didn't show any weakness, either. My arrows flew like the wind, instantly taking down the advancing skeletons. But in the next second, the fire from the explosion engulfed me. Surtur let out a contemptuous laugh. But when the smoke cleared, I was completely unharmed. This was all thanks to my flame curse robe and the magic resistance shield. I shot back a sarcastic smile. Pay-to-win players are something else, aren't they? But, Surtur, I didn't prepare all this just to deal with you. I prepared it to hunt you. Hearing this, Surtur looked down lazily and chuckled. Hunt me? You really are unbelievably arrogant. Why don't you try getting close to me first, you insignificant human? However, Surtur wasn't laughing for long. He saw my figure flash. I rushed into the horde of skeletons, letting the ghouls completely surround me. I unsheathed my longsword and instantly killed one. Then, using the fiery aftershock from the exploding skeletons, I triggered a chain reaction that made every ghoul on the battlefield explode in an instant. In theory, I should have been able to escape the endless explosions unharmed by relying on the properties of my robe of fire curse. But after withstanding thousands of blasts, my anti-magic shield finally couldn't take it anymore and shattered. So, I taunted him directly. Surtur, stop sending your minions. Isn't it about time you came down here yourself? Surtur picked up his 100-meter-long sword and leapt down from his throne. I'm genuinely surprised you managed to get equipment like this in a tutorial match. I admit, you are qualified to climb the Grand Tower and become a ranker who can rule it. But there's one thing Surtur just can't figure out. Why exactly are you here? Were you eliminated in place of a teammate? Hearing that, I impatiently cleaned out my ear. How many times do I have to tell you? I came here to hunt you. You've got guts, kid. In that case, I'll play along. With that, Surtur raised his greatsword high. With no turning back, I raised my shield. Because this was the crucial moment. I had already accumulated enough fire energy inside my body. So I had to succeed, there was no room for failure. However, the anti-magic shield was ultimately no match for such a powerful and heavy blow. It shattered with a crack, but in doing so, it had fulfilled its purpose. Surtur, you asked how I got these eyes? It's because I have a special method to make them evolve. You just have to intentionally fail the third round of the tutorial match, using the world consumed by flames as a crucible. Then, using your demonic fire as fuel to ignite that crucible at the very moment the fire energy inside my body peaks. These eyes will undergo a transformation. And as for how I know all this, I fought the master of this power hundreds of times. But in all those hundreds of battles, I only won once. And the reasons for that are many. He had the divine artifact, the golden hoop rod, which could extend infinitely. He had the world's first cloud, the somersault cloud, which could summon wind and rain and reach the ends of the universe in a flash. He even had infinite magic power from eating all the heavenly peaches of immortality. But the most troublesome thing he had was these fiery eyes that could see through anything. Just then, the system's cold notification tone rang out. Conditions for the hidden fragment have been met. You have acquired Fire Eye. With the enhancement from Fire Eye, my fire resistance and perception were raised to their absolute limits. Not a single one of Surtur's movements would escape these eyes. So, from this moment on, the hunt officially begins. After saying that, I ate the ice crystal. Not only was the burn status effect alleviated, but my magic power even gained a frost attribute. Surtur, you'll soon find out that this aura now clinging to my body is your very bane. At that moment, Surtur sensed that something was wrong. He immediately swung his greatsword at me. But his terrifying strike was blocked. The robe of fire curse is resisting Surtur's extinguishing fire. The robe of fire curse has gained additional magic resistance against fire attribute attacks. Fire Eye is resisting Surtur's extinguishing fire. The robe of fire curse is absorbing Surtur's extinguishing fire. Body temperature is dropping rapidly. Strengthened, I fought him on equal footing. I even managed to slash and wound him, but that just enraged him. He fired off several fireballs in a row, but my Fire Eye predicted his attack trajectory, allowing me to dodge them with ease. I knew my body couldn't withstand this cold aura for long. I had to end this quickly. There's no need to conserve magic anymore. With that thought, I began to attack with all my might. First, I severed his foot, making him lose his balance. Then, I followed up with a magic wave, forcibly controlling him for 3 seconds. I seized the opportunity to jump onto his back and unleashed the frost attribute from within my body. The frost attribute was resisting Surtur's fire extinguishing ability. Once the frost and fire reached a balance, I aimed the longsword in my hand at his head, and then stabbed down with all my might. The system displayed a notification. You have defeated the Annihilator of the tutorial match. Achieved an incredible record. Because you achieved an impossible record, the reward calculation is delayed. The burns haven't healed yet. It seems I wasn't unconscious for long. There's still some residual frost energy in my body. My body is a complete mess. Just now, I felt like I'd walked through the gates of hell. But I never thought this was just an intermediate stage of acquiring the fiery golden eyes. Oh well, the tutorial match isn't over yet. There's still a long way to go. I'd better stop complaining. The accessories found in a demon's body are usually equipment. But for someone of Surtra's level, there are some exceptions. Sure enough, I found a giant's heart inside his body. It contains the power of giants and a massive amount of magic. Although I want to consume it right now, it would be too much for my current body to handle. This elixir can completely transform the user's physique, so the user must have sufficient physical strength. Just then, the administrator impatiently interrupted me. Are you done with your business? This tutorial match is completely unbalanced now. Because of you, I got dragged away and lectured by the other administrators. Seriously, where did this troublesome guy come from? Anyway, you'll be sent to the final stage area because the 4th round of the tutorial has already started. And it's about to end. I asked, how much time is left? He said there were about 4 hours left. That's plenty of time. My humble bragging made the administrator laugh. For you, maybe. You can indeed win in a short amount of time, but after it's over, I still have to discuss the issue of your rewards with the administrators of the other floors. And that's going to take me a very long time. As he spoke, he shook my hand. Received 10,000 points. All attribute points plus 3. I thought I knew every advanced skill like the back of my hand. But I've never heard of a skill called Heavenly Killing Star. An A+ rank skill shouldn't be obtainable in a normal tutorial match. Although not all high-level skills are good, just based on the fact that it can raise attribute points. It can improve my efficiency by quite a lot. Then, I frowned. Because the skill proficiency is at 0. It seems this isn't a complete skill yet. In any case, it's perfect for making up for my deficient attribute points. After that, I exchanged for a small rejuvenation pill. After the administrator left, I was teleported to the tower. This final round's converging world, Hope Island, is slowly sinking. Everyone, there is only one way to escape Hope Island and qualify. Hunt down the boss at the summit of Hope Island. You will all earn points based on your contribution to hunting the boss, and the final reward will be based on your score and the time taken for the hunt. The time limit is 30 days. After 30 days, Hope Island will sink completely. You have to understand, the previous tutorial matches lasted 4 days at most and ended in as little as 1 hour. 30 days is indeed enough to surprise the participants. Since there's no need to fight immediately, I would think that the longer the designated time, the better, so they can prepare thoroughly. But to put it another way, if it takes a month to hunt one boss, that means the boss is an opponent that can't be defeated in a short time. It seems a few people have realized the implication of this time limit. At that moment, a few people wanted to team up with the man in white, but they were rejected. People like you aren't qualified to be my companions. Faced with the man in white's taunt, the men were instantly enraged. They raised their fists, ready to teach the man in white a lesson. But with a casual wave of his hand, the man in white sent them flying. A bunch of noobs. And this person is named Harkin, claiming to be the heir to Olympus, the bloodline of Zeus, and he already possessed such power right at the start of the 5th round tutorial. This would definitely draw the tower's attention. I knew that was the power of a high-grade pure blood. A pure blood refers to someone who was born and raised in the tower, accepted the choice, and then began to climb it. From birth, they experience the tower's mysteries firsthand, so they're on a completely different level from other participants. In other words, the fair game ends here. Moreover, during the 5th round tutorial I experienced last time, he was the one who provided the most contribution points. But even so, I don't want to get involved with him. I hate these kinds of noisy situations, it's best to just leave. Just as I was about to leave, Harkin called out to me. He pointed at my clothes and asked, "Is that the robe of the fire curse you're wearing? An advanced item like that should be impossible to get in the tutorial. How did you do it?" I told him I bought it with points, of course. At my words, his eyes widened in disbelief. This thing is unusually expensive. He actually bought it? What's your level? Don't you think asking me a question like that is rude? Seeing that I refused to answer, he awkwardly rubbed his head. Then he sent a party invitation, but I rejected it. This made him tremble with anger, and he immediately used his pure blood ability to chase after me. But even after killing several monsters blocking his path, he still couldn't find any sign of me. How is that guy so fast? It didn't look like he used any kind of speed boosting skill. Just how high are his attribute points? Could he be a pure blood? Let me think, whose bloodline did he inherit? The person with the highest speed value. Someone from Prado? Or a master from the martial world? Could he be the heir of Hermes? Now this is getting very interesting. After shaking him off, I let out a long sigh of relief. That guy is indeed fast. His specialty probably isn't speed itself, but rather some strange, monstrous strength he generates from the momentum of his attacks. The balance of this tutorial has been completely shattered. Now that I think about it, what the administrator said back then. Those words probably weren't just for me. In any case, none of this has anything to do with me. As I continued to kill monsters, my proficiency with the Heavenly Slaughter Star slowly increased. But the rate of increase was too slow. After killing dozens of Jingtao, my proficiency had only risen to 0.01%. If I want to increase my proficiency more effectively, I'll have to go hunt some higher level targets. But my purpose for coming here isn't hunting. My body has almost fully recovered. The cold energy within me has also dissipated. I'm ready. After scattering some odorless powder around the area, I took out the giant's heart, as Loclaris's words from before my rebirth echoed in my mind. Listen to me, you must eat the giant's heart before the tutorial ends. With that, I swallowed the heart. The potent medicinal power within the elixir instantly surged through my whole body, and my heart began to pound wildly. My blood vessels swelled, and my blood began to race. At the same time, a system notification appeared. You have consumed the purified blood of a giant and a demon. The battle between human, giant, and demon will now unfold within your body. At this moment, all I could feel was my body being thrown into a divine furnace. The heat was maddening. Even the robe of the fire curse couldn't withstand it. Only my fire eyes were having any effect at this moment. But it wasn't long before even the fire eyes were overwhelmed by the giant's sparks. The intense pain prevented me from making a single sound. My bones and muscles were twisting and reforming over and over. Just as my mind was on the verge of collapse, a phantom of Loclaris suddenly appeared before me. Hold on. Absorb as much power as you possibly can. Giant's blood isn't meant to be consumed internally, it's for external use. Eating a giant's blood during the tutorial is nothing short of suicide. If you hadn't obtained the fire eyes beforehand, then everything would be completely different, and there's only one chance. Besides the excruciating pain, there was just the endless stream of system notifications in my ears. Strength +1. And then the notifications started up again. The extinguishing eye and the giant race's fire are in conflict. You can use the fire eye to control the giant race's fire. Conditions for the hidden fragment have been met. Obtained giant fire. What even is giant fire? Why does all this random stuff keep popping up, while the skills I actually want never appear? I'm seriously going crazy.